Tattoos are an interesting cultural phenomena. Old-fashioned people traditionally think of tattoos as somehow low class, but in reality, tattoos are extremely expensive and often display masterful artworks done by hand. Most NBA players nowadays have tattoos, and many players have covered nearly their entire bodies with them. Even then, each individual tattoo usually still has a unique backstory or special meaning behind it. Here are some hidden meanings of NBA players' tattoos. Steph Curry. Steph Curry is actually one of the least tattooed NBA players, relatively speaking. In fact, at first glance, you might not even notice him having any at all. However, the two-time MVP does have a few. Well, 4 to be exact. The one that's usually first to get noticed by fans watching is the symbol on his upper right arm. He usually displays this when he's watching a replay on the Jumbotron and reacting incredibly to the referee's calls. However, the symbol doesn't represent a message to the officials, but rather a Bible verse, John chapter 3 verse 30, where it says, quote, "He must become greater, I must become less." Technically, it's a math equation. Steph also has the letter A tattooed on his ring finger for his wife Aisha, and a couple tattoos on his arms written in Hebrew. Steven Adams. Steven Adams is best known for being the Aquaman of Oklahoma City, although he recently moved to New Orleans. Many fans who have never heard him speak or who have never read up on him don't know that Adams is originally from New Zealand, but even fans who are familiar with his backstory still don't realize the hidden meaning behind some of his tattoos. Adams has a very intricate and large tribal tattoo, which is sweeping all across his right arm. Similar designs are also quite commonly found in New Zealand. What is less common, though, is the word written on his forearm, which is the entire rest of the tattoo that's drawn around it. The word is Funaki, and fans puzzled for quite a while over what it might mean. That is, until everyone realized the obvious truth. That's his middle name. Stephen Funaki Adams says that this is one of the best tattoos that he's ever gotten, and early photos of his start in Oklahoma City seem to back this up. Brandon Ingram. Steven Adams' teammate in New Orleans has more tattoos than can be covered in a single video, but Brandon Ingram does have 2 in particular which stand out. The first is deeply embedded in the artwork of his left arm. If you look carefully, you'll be able to see the letters BXI. This seems very mysterious, and you might even wonder whether it could be some sort of protein formula, or maybe an elixir for the engine in your car. Turns out, it's a much simpler explanation. The letters B, X, and I actually spell Brandon Ingram's full initials. His middle name is Xavier. X is probably the least common letter for a name to start with, and as a result, you'll rarely expect to see the letter X in someone's initials. However, Ingram seems to have beaten the odds and made a name for himself in more ways than one. Another tattoo that stands out in Ingram's collection is the woman on his left lower leg. The portrait is of his late aunt, who helped raise Ingram and who he says was a very important role model in his life. His aunt's name was Letha Smith, and she unfortunately died while Brandon was still a player at Duke. However, she lives on in Brandon's memory and in his touching tattoo tribute to her. LeBron James. When you're one of the best players in the league and probably the most famous, you get looked at quite a bit. LeBron James is definitely the most watched NBA player, and as a result, his tattoos have been seen and interpreted by people all around the world. James reportedly has 24 distinct pieces, meaning, like Ingram, he has too many to talk about in one video. Many are religious, while others refer to his hometown of Akron, Ohio, or his mother Gloria. Some, however, are more unusual. On his right calf, the word witness is written vertically. It isn't until you see his other calf that you recognize the full message. Witness history. You would have to put the 2 tattoos together in order for it to make sense. Coming from another player, this might seem really cocky, but on LeBron's calves, it's really just speaking the truth. Willie Cauley-Stein. Willie Cauley-Stein may have more tattoos than any other NBA player. He grew up in Spearville, Kansas, and at just 27 years old, Cauley-Stein must have been getting tattoos constantly ever since he was old enough to. Because with the massive 7-foot frame that he's got, that must have taken some time to get inked up. In addition to playing pro ball, Willie's also an accomplished painter, and he runs his own clothing line called Will Change Sports. Cauley-Stein was asked back in 2018 which of his countless tattoos is his favorite. He picked two, actually. The first one's on his neck, and it reads Team Blake, which is a tribute to his friend Blake that tragically died of cancer when they were in college. Willie's other favorite tattoo is a tribute to another friend who died, but in this case, of a Xanax overdose. His initials are printed on Cauley-Stein's face. Michael Jordan. Yep, that's right. We're talking about the legend, the GOAT, Michael Jordan. The one who played in the 80s and 90s when almost no player had tattoos, and who was every bit as watched, if not more, than the king LeBron James. How did Michael manage to have tattoos nobody knew about while playing in the national spotlight for, well, a better part of 2 decades? Surprisingly enough, it turns out he was hiding all along in plain sight. According to the sports writer Sam Smith, who covered the Bulls for the entirety of MJ's career, and who also wrote the infamous book The Jordan Rules, Michael Jordan has just one tattoo, and it's on the left side of his chest. The tattoo is of a small horseshoe. Because of its location on his body, the tattoo was usually covered up by Michael's jersey. However, even in footage where the tattoo should be exposed, it isn't even visible. For example, in the movie Space Jam, the tattoo appears to have been covered up with makeup, or maybe even possibly removed via medical procedure. You can see the shape of the original tattoo in certain shots, however. According to Sam Smith, Jordan is sensitive about the tattoo and, reportedly, got it while in college as part of a pledge to his fraternity. Jordan was originally part of the Omega Psi Phi while at the University of North Carolina. While the symbol does look like a horseshoe, it's actually supposed to be the Omega sign. Whether Jordan paid to remove it or simply covers it up with makeup, we'll never know for sure. He never really even spoke publicly on the matter. Kyrie Irving. Kyrie Irving has some of the most unusual tattoos in the NBA, and pretty much like everything else about the dude, controversy has surrounded a number of them. A few years back, Irving ignited a rush of conspiracy theories across internet platforms like Reddit when pictures began circulating of a tattoo on his right hand. Many had interpreted the symbol as having a satanic meaning. Others say that it reminded them of the Seal of Solomon, which is the predecessor to the Star of David and a common symbol in Western occult practices. Still, others even say that it's a calling card for the Illuminati. Whatever it may be, why does Kyrie Irving have it even tattooed on his hand in the first place? No one knows. It doesn't help that Irving isn't really a man renowned for public speaking or even coming forth with the media. Irving even has a tattoo for the logo for the TV show Friends on his forearm. The inspiration for this is, well, pretty easy to decipher. Kyrie is known to be a major, huge fan of the show, and, funny enough, Irving was just 2 years old when the first episode aired back in 1994. Damian Lillard. Growing up in Oakland, California, Damian Lillard's mom actually forbade him from getting any tattoos at all. However, as soon as he turned 18 and left for Utah to play college basketball, he got inked up. First tattoo that he got was on his right shoulder, which was an imitation of the Warner Brothers logo, but with the letters LB to signify the Lillard brothers. Not long after this, Lillard chose to get a fairly long Bible passage written on his left upper arm. The passage is from the book of Psalms and talks about trusting in God and not letting the devil or misguided people around you becoming a distraction. Lillard told GQ that he relates personally to the message, having been an underrated player in both high school and college before finally reaching the NBA and the national spotlight. He says, quote,
but I always felt like I was like the best. I always thought I was one of the top players in high school. Even in college, I thought that, but I felt like people wouldn't acknowledge it or they didn't recognize it.
It wouldn't be hard to argue Lillard was wrong about this. In fact, many would say Lillard is still underrated today. His career stat sheet is remarkably similar to Steph Curry's. In fact, Lillard even has a higher career scoring average than Curry, and according to data compiled by NBC Sports, Lillard is significantly more effective than Curry when it comes to the very thing that Steph is known for, long-range shooting. Despite this, Lillard is only compared to Curry in passing and doesn't receive nearly the level of acclaim. This probably has something to do with Curry's championship rings and MVP awards, but Lillard and his fans could argue that if it had been Lillard on the Warriors instead, the results would have probably been similar. Statistically speaking, Lillard also would have been more likely to make that three-pointer at the end of Game 6 in the 2019 Finals. Just saying. Final thoughts. In the past couple of decades, tattoos have risen to become an essential part of basketball culture. Players express their unique personalities and various stories through them, as well as giving us, the fans, a privilege of a much better understanding of who the athletes are. Thanks for watching this video, and please make sure to subscribe and click the bell icon for more content just like this. Also, if there's any interesting tattoos that we didn't cover on any player, or if you have any theories about those that we did, feel free to share your thoughts with us in the comment section down below. And until next time, guys, we'll see you later.